Hey, everybody, welcome back. Email us your thoughts, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. I have two amazing grassroots leaders here from Arizona, Dan Farley and Merissa Hamilton, and they both do a great job. And we're taking questions from our audience, and we're going to take questions from Arizona about Arizona. And the country really cares a lot about Arizona. We're streaming live all across the country on radio and live stream. So first, Merissa, you're in the grassroots. You're pushing for a lot of different things right now. Give us the update out of Arizona.
Sure, absolutely. So we run an organization called easyaz.org. Our goal and mission is to make civic action easy as pie. And so if you have 15 minutes a week, we can work together to save AZ. And so what we do is we track all the bills that are happening. We track primarily the radical left and what they're trying to kill. And so we identify what those key target bills are so that we can make a huge difference. And so those are the action items we put out. It's really easy. We even go to the Capitol to sign you up to be able to do the thumbs up and thumbs down on the bills. And we put out the action alerts. You press a button, and that's how you can make your voice heard.
Well, that sounds awesome and good for you. There's a lot of new activists coming to Arizona, both on the left and the right. So we need to make sure that conservatives are activated. Dan, you're a Tea Party leader from Scottsdale. You've done a lot with precinct committeeman recruitment. Yes. What's the latest in the fight for election integrity? We just got a question right now from Mark from Anthem. What is going on with election integrity, the audit, legislation around it? Dan, what's going on with that?
Well, I was listening to your segment before this. You focused a lot on the illegal immigration. And I did an interview with another outlet in November of 2020 on the issue of the federal form. I'm happy to see that both Representative Jake Hoffman and Senator Townsend is trying to address that issue here locally. That is probably what we should be focused on because nationally speaking, we were told that there was no problem with the Biden election, yet the first bill that they introduced in the House was to legalize voting fraud in all 50 states. When that couldn't get through, they passed it as H.R. 4. Mm-hmm. Now they've gutted a NASA bill, and now they're trying to slip that in again.
So what is the federal form?
Okay, that's a great question. So there's only a handful of states in the country that actually require ID and proof of citizenship. We passed a proposition many years ago that required that in our state. We had a lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that all of the states had to handle the federal form in the same way. So there was a compromise reached where those that register to vote on the federal form can vote in federal elections but not in state elections without proof of citizenship. So on the federal form, it's just kind of like you come in and then you get a court date, but you never come back as an illegal immigrant. Sure. It's the same situation with the voter registration. On the federal form, you're supposed to provide proof of citizenship later, but it never is produced. So you bring in between 2 and 7 million illegal immigrants, and that's basically what they're attempting to do with the federal form, and then H.R. 1, H.R. 4, and then the what we've got going on with the NASA bill. Election integrity is one of the 3 main fights we're in, and we have to be vigilant in it, not only here in Arizona with the audit, but everywhere else in the nation.
I agree. And as Arizona goes, the nation goes. So Merissa, what is the latest legislatively to actually fix our elections? Because it looks like, I live here in Arizona. You guys do too. I care a lot about Arizona. I'm still kind of learning the political terrain here. And it seems like things are going to go well for Republicans unless the elections are conducted the same way.
Yes.
So what's going on to help fix our elections?
So our grassroots has shown up in a big way. Last year, we killed Katie Hobbs' election manual draft. That draft had some horrible things in it. They tried to connect our machines to the internet. Pretty much every single thing that the left denied was happening, Katie Hobbs put in there to try to make it law. So we won that fight. It was killed twice. So now we have to focus on legislation. The good news is that in our Senate committee, that's led by Senator Kelly Townsend, another grassroots win for us. And so we passed 7 election integrity bills out of committee last week. We have another several committee bills that are going to be heard on the House. And so in the House side, we have Representative Jay Kaufman as vice chair of that. And so he's a powerhouse for anyone that knows him. So some of the important bills that are up this week are HB 2236, a Jay Kaufman bill. This is about this is stopping automatic voter registration, which is important because there's many people that don't want to be registered to vote. That allows for ballot harvesting and a lot of cheating.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
So is it law of the land right now in Arizona where everyone gets automatically registered?
No, it is not.
So we're stopping it just to preempt it, or
we are stopping to preempt it because the federal laws are trying to have automatic voter registration.
To prevent the potential federal takeover of elections. Okay.
Yes.
Dan, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah,
really quick?
I do. So, like, I think your listeners need to understand. Like, initially, mail-in ballot sounds very convenient and easy, but the issues start to arise when you're on a permanent voting registration list and you keep getting a ballot. You can't get off of that. The voter lists get worse month after month, year after year. And in areas where there aren't good addressing, you can basically create almost as many ballots as you want. And when you have voting centers as opposed to precincts are an ability to audit how many ballots have actually been done. When you have a voting center, you can stuff it with as many ballots as you want. And if you don't have an ID that's required to submit your ballot at the precinct, then anybody can bring as many ballots as they want when you're not looking to stuff these envelopes or to stuff these boxes. That we need to bring that under control nationwide.
So, Merissa, I kind of cut you off. I apologize. So please continue. Thank you, Dan.
Well, just to his point, we've also had an issue with deceased voters. The Grassroots did the research to audit the deceased voters, and we got the first indictment of voter fraud in the state last year. And so it was not required for the Secretary of State to remove deceased voters until last year. And so this automatic voter registration is basically a workaround to try to undo the progress we did last year. The next bill that we have up that we need to pay attention to is HB 2492, another Jay Kaufman bill, and this is a voter registration verification citizenship requirement. So this kind of helps with the issue that we were just talking about with the federal only bills. And last week, Kelly Townsend got many of her bills on that passed out of committee. Another one that we need to focus on is Kelly Townsend has 1056, which is a very important bill about misplaced ballots. That one was on the schedule for last week. This is going to be that suitcase situation where someone on camera pulls out a suitcase or there's like ballots that were found outside. That can't happen anymore. There will be penalties for that to occur, and those ballots will be considered invalid.
So, Dan, are you optimistic or pessimistic we could start to get some of these fixes?
Well, if we're going to shoot straight, the reality of the situation is Grassroots has to beat two parties in order to get it done. I have not been at all impressed with Ducey's lack of leadership on the border, lack of leadership on these issues, and I'm of the mindset that there might have been a legislator intentionally not bringing them to the floor so he wouldn't have to veto or sign them, and that's totally unacceptable. Do we have a Republican Party in this state that serves constituents or not? And if we don't, then we're going to bring in as many precinct committee men as it requires until they're replaced, and that's the way it's going to work.
There's a lot of people that feel that way because it's like there's a uniparty. Why is it? Can you guys speculate a little bit? Why is the Republican Party fighting this? I don't get it.
So I have a little bit of a difference of opinion on this. Yes, we do have an establishment faction within the Republican Party, but especially with the work that Dan has done on precinct committeemen, they have been disabled considerably. And last year we had a lot of hope. We held the session as the Grassroots open to make it the fourth longest session because we would not let the session end until they passed election integrity.
Great.
So I think that we have so much momentum right now that they're not going to get away with not passing it, and so I believe that we will have a strong year for election integrity.
So we have a question here from Cynthia from Tucson, which she says basically it's a long question. She doesn't trust her elections in Tucson at all. She thinks that it just kind of goes into the abyss. What can she do from now till whenever to fix it? So
there's a couple of things. One, voter registration. Voter registration is key. The left has beat us on voter registration up until these last couple of years, but we have to make a lot of progress on that. So register as many voters as possible. The second thing is we have the election integrity unit under the AG. That's where we have gotten all of our indictments of voter fraud to come from. And so we are going to be, EasyAZ will be teaching our voters how to identify the bad things, what they need to document, and then how to get that information to the election integrity unit so it can be investigated and we can hold people accountable.
So Dan, I sense your frustration. I share your frustration about the uniparty. So can you kind of, in the couple minutes we have in this segment, the next one, I want you to explain the balance, right? Because we don't like the Republican Party, but we don't want a third party. That would be a bad idea, right? So how do you strike that balance? A lot of people share that anger that you have that are listening to us. I do too.
Well, okay, first on the Tucson thing, I am going to be down there with some other trainers this Saturday at the Gaslight Theater starting at 9 a.m. to noon.
Wow.
And we will be empowering over 100 precinct committeemen tomorrow. But on the election integrity, Merissa does an outstanding job focusing on the state legislature and individual issues. But we also have another group that has teams that we've built over this last year, which is called America PAC. Through all these precinct committeemen that we recruited, we developed teams. So we've got a school board team, a city council team,
amazing.
an election integrity team, and we've got a state legislature team. And that election integrity team is someone, they can join on Zoom and they can be mentored by what we've already been doing all year. And this can be replicated throughout the nation if we as Grassroots work on it.
And Dan, you're not like a paid political operative. You're just doing this because you love it, right? Am I wrong? I mean,
I have not. I actually lose money. I've been giving about, well, this week I am on track to give 80 hours this week, but usually it's been 40 to 60 hours a week for the last 28 months at my own expense and helping to pay for offices and training people. So we have a website, azgrassrootshub.com. You can take a look at that to see what kind of trainings we're doing out of that on a regular basis. We're doing weekly trainings, political empowerment trainings. Basically, I would love every state to take a look at what I built on an Excel workbook that gives an entire landscape of the political landscape for the state. Then we do door knocking training. We have the GOP data center, which shows us who the hard Republicans are who voted in all the primaries and general elections. Those are the people we want to make precinct committeemen. They're going to care the most. And then we've got like the campaign sidekick. The RNC is so, I think, impressed with the turnouts that we've had both in PCs and training that they, the county and the national party are working hand in hand. They're using my office this Saturday to bring people out and door knock to help recruit more precinct committeemen in. We're going to make it happen.
I love that. So I want to talk to you both about that in the next segment. There's a lot of people that want to help nationwide, so we'll talk a little bit about that, but Arizona as well. You guys articulated it super well, but people sometimes don't know where to start. They feel intimidated by it. But I want to kind of walk through that because I think it's really important, and you're both doing that at the grassroots level. Going down to Tucson for a couple hours, that's a big commitment, especially on a weekend. Okay, everybody, you guys might have knee pain, back pain, joint pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, any sort of pain you might be having. ReliefFactor.com might be the best solution for you. 100% drug-free Relief Factor at ReliefFactor.com. Knee pain, back pain, joint pain, elbow pain. You guys can get it for less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day. So check it out right now at ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. They've been big supporters of our program. Producer Andrew is messaging right now that his heel pain is gone and he's going to run an Ironman. You guys know how long an Ironman is. It's long. He's going to do 120 miles on the bike. He's going to do 26.2 miles running and 2.5 miles. And he's going to wear a Relief Factor shirt while doing it. And it's pretty impressive. Producer Andrew. And ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. All right, everybody, check out the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. We are here with two terrific grassroots Arizona activists, Merissa Hamilton and Dan Farley, that are in the weeds of the grassroots, actually just trying to save their state. And we call this year the Rise of the Citizen. And you see it. I'm sure you guys are seeing it at the front lines. I share the frustration with the institutional Republican Party, but honestly, I'm optimistic because I don't think they're in charge anymore. I don't. I think it's changing in real time. And I want to talk about that in our final segment. Email us your thoughts, freedom@charliekirk.com. The Citizen is rising, everybody. We'll be right back.